Yearning to play a few rounds of Gwent. That ought to set me straight.
It's Commander's Horn, episode 115. I'm here with SirPumpkn and Markthius. No one, don't worry, no, they can't hear you guys. You're like, oh, the show's starting. Now we're here to talk about the Viper update. We're here to talk about the May patch as well, and a Nilfgaard rework here on Commander's Horn. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Well, welcome back to Commander's Horn, my friends. It is a beautiful day out here in Toronto, Canada. Markthius joining me and SirPumpkn joining me, all East Coast. So you're probably enjoying a nice day as well. Pumpkin, how are you enjoying your day off?
Good. I got to sleep in really late. I woke up an hour and a half ago, and yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's gonna be fun.
Right on. Markthius, what about yourself? How's your day going?
Enjoying the balmy 90 degrees today in sunny South Florida.
So, it's normal for you, right? I keep forgetting.
Yeah, just the normal balmy day.
I know. I used to have a map up. I just redid my office here. Like, I moved a bunch of stuff around. I used to have a map up, and I was thinking I should really start putting like pins up for the people that I know and where they're located, because I forget sometimes where people are located.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, but Florida, I haven't been there in a very long time. But one day maybe. Gentlemen, it's been a while since I've done a video podcast, so it's great for you to be joining me here in this beautiful Crimson Curse layout. Thanks so much to Gabor as well. Just for we didn't have a chance to do a video podcast earlier, and then when I finally got Reichik from CDPR on the last podcast, it ended up being audio only, and I'm glad it was. It was a really great interview. But if you didn't get a chance to check it out because you only catch me on video stuff, you should check out the feed on iTunes. You can check it out at commandershorn.com. That's all I'll say, guys. I just want to hang out with you guys and chat about this huge patch that just kind of came in. So like, what has been the general reception? I mean, it kind of got dropped on us pretty early. It was like, I guess early towards, it was very close to it actually being patched. So we got our dev stream. I talked about that on my stream. I'm sure you guys talked about it and watched it as well. And then the patch hits us, and we've just had just a couple of days to work through it with a new Nilfgaard out there, mixing with the same Nilfgaard. Just around the horn real quick, how have you guys felt in general about this patch, and what do you think problems have been addressed? Maybe some problems that are still out there. Pumpkin, I'm going to throw it to you first.
They fixed one no unit deck. The Scoia'tael one. Nilfgaard is better. It's still point slime oriented. I think I remember on day one I thought it was going to be absolutely insane because the new Delaran soldiers with Dreamd and Brigraph are crazy.
The ones that pick up the are the ones that double, or the ones that double themselves?
The double up,
yeah.
Because you can spawn a lot of them very quickly. I was pretty surprised that CDPR made them what they are. But nobody plays them anymore. I don't know what happened. It just disappeared because like for 2 days I was playing Gigni and I was getting like 30-40 point Gignis. It was great. But then everyone stopped playing Nilfgaard.
I don't know. Maybe it was just like a really sharp honeymoon phase. I think that people just wanted to know, is it OP or not? I think there's a huge group of people that just kind of just move through every archetype and tactic and can kind of keep that knowledge like, yeah, I tried it, it was not good. And then they just have to tell that to people that maybe haven't tried it yet, and they'll maybe be like, well, this person said it wasn't good, so maybe I'm not going to try it. And then it kind of changed from there. And I think that the things that are good and bad tend to go through a lot of that, but the things that are showcased that are super strong tend to stick around. And maybe no one's showcasing that super strong new Nilfgaard soldiers. I don't know if Spies is quite there yet, but I think that soldiers definitely has synergy. Markthius, have you been playing the new Nilfgaard soldiers at all?
Yeah, I actually really like the new soldiers. I did it with Calvite. I did a little bit with Emir as well. It's not too shabby. I kind of like what they did with it. A little bit sad that they took away some of the reveal, but didn't feel like it hurt too much. I mean, they made reveal more of a support kind of thing now, which is really interesting. But I'm glad that they gave an extra provision to Emir, because that made it a little bit more playable, and it actually made Mill kind of little bit of a maybe option. I've been toying around with Mill a little bit, but it's I know it's not that good. So like, I'm not telling anyone to try it. It's really not good.
But I know Pumpkin,
But
for someone who plays, I'm gonna let you finish, Markthius. But for someone who plays as much as Pumpkin, I know half of that is probably because, oh, don't play it, it's not good, I wouldn't recommend it. But I know the other half of it is you just don't want to play against it. I know that.
Yeah.
In that pie chart,
playing against Mill is fine now because there's no thinning. Witchers are gone, so Mill could exist because of Witchers and because of discard SK. But even Bran got nerfed pretty severely, and there's 0 thinning other than maybe Roach and against the occasional SK matchup. So basically, the only time you're milling your opponent is if you Q into Bran. That's it. Otherwise, but I mean, unless you've had different experiences than I.
No, and that's the point I was going to make. Is that before, when the new card set came out, I was really excited about trying to do mill again. And it seemed like it was going to be great with all these new cards, and it really wasn't there because the provision cost was hurting. You had to do it with a mirror. You got to get that double Viper Witcher or double whatever, and you just couldn't do it because the provision cost was terrible. But now you get that extra provision cost. Oh, well, we can make it happen now. The cards got adjusted. I could fit all these cards, and finally, this is not the time to play mill either because no one's playing Bran anymore. Okay, great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anytime a deck gets a little bit more room, like Svalblood got a lot more room. You get the Shield Maidens got buffed, and Svalblood himself got buffed. He didn't lose any points on Olaf Canute if he was running that kind of thing, and it just seems like some buffs were bigger than others. Calvet's buff 2 provision points. It just makes a huge difference. Like, just imagine saying that you could just move any of these 9s up to 10s in a world where a lot of 9s got nerfed up to 10. It feels like maybe from the standpoint of the single use leaders, they didn't feel the nerf as hard as any other deck that would be running those combos or relying on those like mid-range control options to just get the value they need to crush out the engines early when they need to. And just a lot of things have changed, but it's like been it's been subtle at the same time. So as far as like the biggest changes, like if you had to talk about a change that you would say is your favorite change in the patch so far, that isn't directly Nilfgaard related, because I do kind of want to like talk a little bit more about Nilfgaard because they got a lot of changes. Pumpkin, what would you say is your favorite change in the Season of the Viper May patch? Coral. Yes, the nerf of Coral. One less, an infiltrator has taught me many times, one less chance could mean a lot. It could mean many, many points. So the Coral nerf, yeah, I have to agree. It's not bad. Darren is maybe coming back as a potential option to, get stuff out of your deck and not necessarily need all these hoops to jump through. It's huge.
Well, because it allows you to thin to 0 now, right? Because Coral plus all the discard package with Bran allowed you to thin to 0. Now, if you want to thin to 0, you either have to play Roach or Duran.
Yeah, Darren and Roach as well. You can play them both and get Morkvarg out of the deck as like just a tempo play to start things off. And you could maybe just think, I know there's some people that are experimenting with some Saris options since Darren and Morkvarg are kind of coming back into play. And I think on Tuesday, I know I've been talking to Green Knight a little bit about it. Tuesday we're going to be playing some Svalblood. He's got something brewing with Saris that I'm super excited about. Markthius, what would you say is your favorite change to the game outside of the drastic Nilfgaard changes?
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to pick a Nilfgaard thing because I don't play much outside of Nilfgaard.
That's true. You know what? That is the second. That is like the second reason that it's great to have you on as well, because you're just like the usurper guy. I know that for sure. I mean, you do play a lot of Shupe. You do a lot of stuff out there on the Legion, but you definitely. Whenever I think of usurper, I think of you first, Markthius. So
hey, that was the goal.
Talk about Nilfgaard.
Yeah, I actually really like the change that they made to Pikeman, because that now I have a card that is kind of the opposite. I keep comparing it to Northern Realms having their machines in the back row. Yeah. And now I have a melee machine in the front row, which I really, really like. And it's a target that gets locked, but again, every target, whatever. There's so many locked targets, but I really like that change. It's just that card was so useless before. It just felt like it seemed like a cool ability it had before, what it damaged based on the amount on the other row, something along those lines. But it just you can never really quite use it. So this is like finally, hey, I could use a new card here. It's almost like having a brand new card.
Yeah, it's interesting because they have it's the card. It was originally something like damage. Doesn't it damage based on the amount of soldiers are already on the row or on
right?
Or
yeah,
on all
I think it
somewhere?
damaged. Yeah, it damaged like by the amount on the other row or something along like that. Like you had to have a certain amount on the other row and then damaged that amount.
All right, here
something like that. I don't know.
Flash question for both of you and the chat, because I want to hear what the chat thinks about this as well. Nilfgaard was heavily criticized that they had a lot of options in their card pool that were getting a lot of the same things happening in the neutral card pool as well, especially when we got to see some of the new additions to Crimson Curse. And a lot of the people that are talking about Nilfgaard's identity were mainly hoping that Reveal was going to get something and they were going to get some more support. So now they have gotten more support, and Markthius, like you said, it's like a twisted, alternate, bizarro version of Reinforced Trebuchet. Although it does have soldier synergy, but it doesn't have machine synergy. But there are a lot of likenesses. The old pikeman was like the current Temerian infantryman, kind of like it's a similar sort of like other version of it. Like cares about a row, cares about what's on the row. Do you think that Nilfgaard being sort of a twisted alternate version of the soldiers and knights archetype that, or I should say identity that Northern Realms works, since they are warring factions and they are kind of like on the same territory, do you think that there's a reason to feel like identity is still at stake here for Nilfgaard, or do you think that this is just how soldiers and knights and machines should feel? What side are you on as far as the feel of the new Nilfgaard? An open question right there. Markthius, you can pick that one up. Pumpkin, you can pick that one up.
I think the big thing, and they kind of did a little bit here, the big identity that Nilfgaard always had from the beginning was spies, right? I mean, that always kind of had a lot of spy options. Unfortunately, before this hotfix, the spy option still really wasn't that fantastic. And they kind of opened the door with some of those changes, changing some of the machines to interact with spies now, which was really neat. But it still feels a little bit lacking in the spy territory. Like, it's okay, but it still feels like it needs something. But I do feel like they set it up better for another, whatever the next expansion is. So maybe they set this up with more soldiers for whatever's coming next. I think, unfortunately, like you just said, Northern Realms is also the spy or the soldier faction as well, if you think about it. So it's kind of hard to get away from that. They're both large armies. So how do you kind of take away from the soldier aspect? I think if they do more spy things with a new expansion and have them interact with Nilfgaard specific soldiers, I think that would be a really good way to give it better identity.
What's your take on it, Pumpkin?
Up until, well, I mean, forever, it's always been spies, as you mentioned. Spy Nilfgaard has always been popular. It got some more tools, but it's not enough. I don't know what it needs, but it needs something. And then obviously you do have soldiers. I feel like for Nilfgaard soldiers, it's just, does your opponent have Gimpy? Every day.
But the thing is that only it only solves one of the soldiers though. Like you could still do slave infantry stuff, but then you could maybe set up the Darelins. I mean, it's like Vreemd doesn't have to hit 5 things to, well, if it hits 5 things, it's amazing, but it doesn't have to always hit it, I suppose. You have other options. The Emperor Brigades are always there, I guess. Vreemd at his provision cost is, I feel like it's okay to use him as a support card. But he's WinCon. He's WinCon-esque at the same time.
You want to be hitting like 4 to 6 targets, especially when your entire deck is built around it. I've played some lists with like Zoltan and Vivian finishers with Calvi and like Albrick. That's pretty fun.
Decoy that guy too. Maybe put him back in the deck with the Syrah. I feel like he's so like his body doesn't matter, right? Body shaming.
Sure. So and the other archetype would be like Ardal. I guess you could say they're control-ish. I think there is a decent Ardal list out there. I don't think anybody has found it yet. We'll see. I know this has nothing to do with Nilfgaard. You mentioned Sarah's a little earlier. Do you know about how Locks works in Graveyard now? So if you lock Sarah's, she still comes back.
Well, I see. I haven't actually. The deck that I was talking about was just like a concept, so I just kind of forgot. I knew about the Phoenix thing. Didn't the Phoenix thing? Oh, was it fixed?
No, the lock thing got fixed, didn't it? I think they did that with the time. Didn't they? Because something happened where you would renew locked and it wouldn't unlock, and then I think they took.
Locks don't stay in Graveyard anymore. So if you have a Phoenix and your opponent locks it, it still pops up the next round. So it still works with Sarah's and Siri Nova.
I think that's okay that there's cards out there that interact differently with the locks.
Fine, right? So you can still counter these cards with like Regis, but Regis got nerfed.
Or anything that banishes from Graveyard, which is another kind of odd tool that Nilfgaard got in the toolbox there.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it just? Do you think it works with just their strategy screw up like archetype? Do you think that it? outside of the fact that an Arbalest is less likely to be a Gravedigger than perhaps a grave digging unit, but do you think it kind of just fits in the toolbox of Nilfgaard screwing with your strategy with low cost cards that do that?
Yeah,
or you think it's kind of like a weird addition?
I think it needs more support because it's there's 3 cards now you can play in Nilfgaard that will interact with the graveyard, which is really good against something like a Big Woody or any monsters that bring things back later. But it would be really cool if there was a little bit more with that. I don't really ever see the need to put anything back into my side of the I haven't really figured out a great way to use it where I'm placing him on the range row to put something back on my side because people do that combination with Roach, which is always good, but that's automatically a gold card. So he's a bronze. So what am I going to put back? It makes
Doesn't he
sense.
banish?
It
It banishes, right?
It banishes.
Oh,
It's
you
like-
banish. That's right. I'm sorry. You banish it from. Well, why would you? What would you banish in Nilfgaard from your side? That's what I'm saying.
In a
Unless
blue
you're
dream
worried about
meta, I
Blue
guess.
Dream, I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh no, I mean it's
what are
not
you worried
crazy.
about?
It just
No,
depends
you're
if something
playing
is
around
meta.
a blue dream.
Like what if honestly
Yeah,
like you
'cause all
know
the blue dreams I see.
lots of things change, right? Lots of things. We've seen monthly
Sure.
updates. This is kind of like a great topic I want to talk to you guys about too, if we're just shooting the shit. Like monthly updates, changing the meta every single month. Every month, the things that people know for like truth is challenged every time. The stuff that's, you can look at it and say, well, this wasn't changed, so it's still strong. But let's say Vernon Roach, some change happened. Vernon Roach becomes incredibly strong. Northern Realms has a tutor for Blue Dream because it's a spell. So is it possible that Vernon Roach and Blue Dream would be that popular? In that case, graveyard banishing techniques would end up being tech, I guess.
No, they play Sword right now, right?
Yeah.
Sword is better than Dream because Sword is cheaper and you just pop it, right?
That's why I love having you on
Creates.
Hey, the
the
Sword.
show.
Are you talking about the one that damages 2 and then makes
What a
the
great
same-
card that
Yeah.
is.
That's a
I
good
feel
card.
like I'm too dumb to play that card sometimes. Like sometimes I play
with
the
Spies.
sword, and I'm like, I played it. The cool thing is, well, I had this interaction with. I feel like there's a combo here with Calvet. If you have Roderick and sword as one of your gold cards that are left, and then you have another gold card left, you can Roderick, and you have Rainfarn on the board, or perhaps you got Rainfarn on the board in that turn. You can play Roderick, sword to play Roderick, and then Roderick would play another one. And let's say that other gold is Joachim. It plays that. It's 3 triggers for Rainfarn as well. And, it's just, there's got to be a way to stack your deck like that because it can thin. Like Nilfgaard can thin it out. I don't know.
I
With
mean,
17
okay.
provisions, maybe we can get there.
Is that worth it? You're paying 9 provisions. Okay, so I do this in Northern Realms. I'll play Prince Willem into Sword, into Prince, into random gold cards. So I played Sword for 9 provisions within 1 card out of my deck in round 3. It's so good.
Yeah.
Sarcasm is.
But
I mean,
yeah,
you can do that, I guess. It doesn't. The payoff doesn't seem that great, though.
I
You're
mean,
not getting
I feel like I could
9
only
provision out
answer
of it.
payoff questions about Northern Realms right now because I really haven't invested a ton of time into Nilfgaard and I guess Nilfgaard and Scoia'tael. Well, Pumpkin, you guys both put a ton of time into everything. I know you guys do. I go like one deck at a time. Like, please, this needs to work. I really want this to work. So
That's why I feel with you, Serber. I need this to work.
Yeah, I need this to work. It's my whole identity.
Yeah.
I've been liking Full Test actually. I played a lot of Full Test because I just feel like he didn't get a huge buff, but he did get in a world where removal is less prevalent, like things coming down with 4 pings like Regis and Ifrit and all that stuff. Full Test has always been and continues to always have an easy way to remove things with his little buff up to 14 and his ability, which was already pretty strong in the first place, to make Selkirk and like Murktabraka and Visegrad in some board states and all sorts of things just be like, that's the removal I need. And Vess is still pretty good. So, and the Zeal makes it easier as well. So Synthesis, I was playing Dragons with Ek because I wanted to play Vandergriff's Blade and the Knights, and it doesn't seem terrible. It seems actually pretty good. Vandergriff's Blade doesn't seem any crazier than just adding a weather effect.
Have you been investing your time into it?
Investing?
Invest? You said vet. No, never mind. I missed it. I should have said it as soon as you said it. I had a pun. I waited too long.
Oh, I'm not wearing a vest, if that's what you mean. I'm not in a vest. Yeah. But anyway, Pumpkin, how's Scoia'tael looking from your side? Because when we actually, quick story, PTR, we were hanging out, and we played a bunch of games together at the time where you were playing matrons and dryads, and I can't remember what I was doing, but I was all about trying assimilate, I think, which was better now than it is then. All right, guys, what do you think about Scoia'tael now? Do you feel like you had the right idea about it? Is it better or worse than you thought it was going to be?
I mean, so they nerfed it. Ethne lost 1p, Sursa lost 1 strength, and Skags went up 1p. But it didn't do much because, yes, it was tier 1, but the other 2 tier 1 decks, Monsters and Bran, also got nerfed. So it's a slight nerf, but it didn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. I think Ethne is still tier 1. The new Dryad, I'm not going to remember the name, the 4 strength one that gives a unit vitality.
Grovekeeper?
Depending on how many. Sure, Grovekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually played that card yet, but I've been seeing it pop up, and I actually think because of Dryad Sentinels and Sursa, it is actually pretty good because worst case scenario, it is a 4/4, and it has the potential to be like +2, +3 vitality, which is insane for 4 strength unit for 4 provision. So
yeah, with fog and stuff too.
I think Scoia'tael is still tier 1.
I'm inclined to agree. I think Ethna's really strong. I feel like Brewer is probably fine, but the last time I built a Brewer deck, the provisions really struck me that time. You know, I've been playing Ethna for such a long time. It's like 19 to 18.
Yeah.
Obviously a lot of other neutral changes that really kind of affected Ethna's power level a little bit. Well, a lot of it, but still pretty good. But then Brewer, I go to build a deck. What is he at, 14 or 15 now? Is it 14 now?
14.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he has potential, but I feel like he's kind of being pushed into Unseen Elder territory where it's like...
I feel like Ethne is just better in every case. So the ways where Brewer is better is where Crushing Trap is played, right?
I love that card, personally.
Yeah, I love the card too, but the problem is because of all the like no unit or semi-unit Arachas Queen decks that are popping up with Frightener, Summoning Circle, and like sometimes more artifacts, people are running a lot of artifact removal now. I've actually seen some Frenzy Dows. Because basically in that matchup, if you remove Frightener, Summoning Circle, you auto-win the game. So more artifact removal. If your Crushing Trap gets removed, you lose the game on the spot. And that feels really bad.
Why did people stop playing Frenzied Dad? That card still seems... I know Bomb Heaver got buffed in like a patch early on, and obviously Mulligan stuff changed, and artifacts changed because we just stopped playing artifacts, or we stopped playing artifact removal because it just wasn't spears all day long every day. But like Frenzied Dad still seems like a pretty safe pick if you have room, like Ethna would, or you're already running Ida as well, probably comfortably running Ida at the same time.
Yeah, so Frenzy Douse started seeing less play because nobody was running artifacts anymore. Now that artifacts are being run, Scoia'tael has Ida, Nilfgaard has Falsiri, the other faction, Monsters, has Nithril, which is actually bugged right now. Fun fact.
How's he bugged? I actually don't know.
So if your opponent plays an artifact turn 1 and you play Nithril turn 1 with no units on the board, it will not remove the artifact. It says dominance. Well, no. Here's the thing: the dominance is to do 2 damage to adjacent units, but for some reason the coding is the dominance is also stacked onto the removal effect. So don't play Nithril on an empty board if you want to remove an artifact. It will not work. So that'll probably get fixed at some point.
Did he always work like that, or I guess there would be no way to? No. He always worked normally, right? There was never any.
Well, no, difference. Even if you didn't have high unit, if your opponent had a 20-point unit and you had a 2 and you played Nithril, it still remove the artifact, right? Because the dominance was attached to the second part of it, not the first part, which was remove an artifact. It removed an artifact 100% of the time, no matter what. So yeah, Frenzy Dow doesn't see a lot of play because the other faction, or 3 of the 5 factions already have good artifact removal, and the other 2 factions, Brandon has D-Bomb, right? Because they can just discard it. So the last faction is what? Northern Realms. Well,
they had the worst one, right? I mean, even in a crazy removal world, the battering ram was like super bad because you couldn't get all your soldiers were your engines anyway, so nothing was going to stick because they were all too important to stay on the board. You weren't playing like some nothing soldiers like poor infantry just to make sure that a soldier is stuck on the board so you could play artifact removal. Like you need to build around a tech. It's way too much, right? It's way too much.
Do you remember old battering ram? The condition to go off?
Yeah, like current pikeman. I like pikeman. Like hit something, kill something, and then are you talking about like vintage Gwent? Are you talking about before?
No. To remove an artifact, it was just play it on the melee row, remove an artifact.
Yeah, that's what was it because it was bugged before? I didn't have a condition.
Yeah, no, that was the condition. You just had to remember to play it on the melee row.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
right?
but what a silly thing, like
strictly better bomb heaver.
Yeah.
What would be the point? Why have to play the? I don't know.
It's like Nilfgaard's. It's like Emperor Brigade, right?
Emperor Brigade, yeah.
Yeah, Blue Stripes Commando is still like the most complicated thinning procedure now, and an Emperor Brigade is just play it on the melee row. Just
yeah, but why? Yeah,
play
that's
the
like
card.
I'm always puzzled by that. That's why I'm glad they changed that with the dwarfs, because that didn't make any sense. Like, why does it have to be locked to a specific row? I don't.
Well, the dwarf one's a little different than the.
You need to have
Emperor
some
Brigade.
supportive unit for, like, there are some decks where you just can't really play the volunteers because you just can't really play the dwarves, especially because Skags is worse now. I mean, Skags is still very good, but you don't want to play Skags first. Gabor, I mean, is
Cleaver.
Cleaver
Best
Cleaver
card in the
is
game.
Cleaver's a very good
I still see
early.
that card a lot.
Yeah,
I still
yeah,
see
yeah.
that.
It's the best card in the game. It's the best neutral in the game. Fight me.
Yeah, because it's like even mid game, it's removing a 5, right? It's still, or mid round, it's still gonna. It's always a threat until it's too late, and then I don't know. Then you're settling for playing it for 7, and your opponent didn't play anything worth removing. Then you probably are winning anyway, right? You guys think it's Synergy God in the chat saying it's an auto include right now for Cleaver?
Yes, it's auto include.
Pumpkin on record saying auto
Wow.
include. Markthius, have you? I'm seeing the light. I don't have an opinion because I haven't really. I mean, I know Cleaver's good, but I don't. I guess he's that good. Markthius, do you think Cleaver's that good right now?
Yeah, I mean he definitely is. My only issue with Cleaver and why I don't run it is because I don't want to get stuck with it in round 3 when I'm like had to go in a deep round and I only got 3 cards left. You know what I mean? Like that's one of those like feels bad situations. So
yeah,
that's
but
the
on
risk,
flip
kind
side,
of, right? The risk is it's like a bad
top. If you win
top
the coin flip and they TA an engine and you play Cleaver, you win.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Geralt,
Very
and like
specific,
Cleaver
very
does it
specific.
for even
Very
less.
specific.
Right?
That's 50% of my game.
It's
I'll TA an engine, they'll have
so
Cleaver,
many
and I
people
lose the
do
game.
that. People play TA too early, right? It's just in general. That's like a general concept. Do you guys think that people are generally playing tactical advantage too early? Because when you clip the tactical advantage, it's like old school Gwent. I'm on the red coin now. Now I just have to beat you, and I get card advantage. It just seems like it's too risky to do that.
You should not do it You should not do it with your first drop. Is what I've always said, because
Feels like 7.
Your opponent could have so many things to get rid of it, unless you want to bait them right away. But you really should not do that.
But using the tactical advantage to bait doesn't just feel very tactical.
It's not very tactical.
I mean, if you really don't want to see Geralt of Rivia later, and you're also playing in a matchup where Geralt of Rivia is the only possible thing that can remove your tall unit, and Cleaver is also one of those things, obviously. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I really wanted to play like
save
that,
it. I try to save it for at least the third turn, or if I'm setting up for 7 cards, all right, I gotta have 7 cards my next turn in case they pass. So I draw to 10, so I'll use it there. Or if I drop something that I want to have kept alive because it has orders, whatever, that's a better situation than just here's my first card, here's the tactical advantage.
Yeah,
Like, you really shouldn't do that.
it feels better just to lead off with a 5 strength engine or a 4 strength engine instead of just leading off with a weak one that needs to be buffed. Like, how about the new Svalblood Priest? You don't need to buff that one. That guy just protects himself.
That card is insane.
It's pretty good, huh?
That's why we're that as soon as you say it.
Yeah, that's probably that's why I think Ceres
your
might be
cleave
okay,
target.
because I'm fine playing Freya to bring those things back over and over and over again. So perhaps Ceres is going to join him all the time. I don't know. That card seems really good, and again, this is another one I haven't really put a lot of time into, but it's just I've seen it. I know what a 5 strength engine is capable of doing, living.
Yeah.
So
that's one of those cards that you see somebody play and you go, that's gonna be a pain later, and you didn't take care of it right away, and you're like, it's too large now. I can't deal with it.
And it also like it encourages it to be damaged as well. It's like, yeah, you can hurt me. I'm just gonna keep boosting myself so it doesn't boost into Leo range or Geralt range or whatever range. You just can use all that as like a resource. He just has that as the resource. Meanwhile, he's popping skulls. He's digging into Blue Boy if you're playing Blue Boy. I think that one's still fringe right now. Blue Boy.
Yeah, Blue Boy.
You need a little bit. In Svalblood, maybe you can make it work, but there's still a ton of stuff that you're fine just hitting. You can play your Berserk units, of course. You could just use Canute. You could just build it up, use Canute to transfer that damage over into something that can't be removed later. I don't know. That card's pretty good. And Self Wound, would you guys say that this was really pushed? Did you think that the Svalblood buff was at this moment, considering that the priests are probably better cards in cards that aren't in decks that aren't thinning as well, more likely to play a low bronze for high value as opposed to just getting rid of it? I feel like that's kind of like not a super direct buff to Svalblood, but then of course the direct buffs like Drummond Shield Maiden, getting a provision buff in Svalblood going up to 17. It feels like it feels like it was a very pushed patch for this leader.
Well, here's the thing. This is what happened. They looked at it and they went, everyone's playing Bran. How do we get them to not play Bran?
Buff everything else.
Buff everyone else in the faction, and then they don't want to play Bran anymore.
Well, because Bran, you see Bran, you see like the most powerful ability, and you see the highest provision cap, and it's like, well, I mean, Svalbard has the same. Like, if you want to say Croc and Svalbard and Bran are the same, like if you want to say they have like the same level, it's like, okay, well, I want the one that's going to be helping me discard 3 extra cards from my deck. That seems pretty dope. And also damaging things that are immune with Coral, damaging 3 other things. Just exactly. But I think that Svalbard maybe didn't need this much pushing. I don't know.
I'm okay with it. I think it's fine. I don't think he's gonna break any metas. But I'm surprised no one's talking about Arnolf. He's so good now.
Yeah, he's
really
Arnolf.
Like,
11.
You talked to me about 11. It's yeah. I mean, he was already getting he's already getting killed by things that were big in the first place. So it's not like being any bigger is anything worse.
But
he's strictly better, right? Yeah,
strictly better. But I've been playing him with Shupe. I play a Shupe RNR Regis deck. I win round 1. I go into round 3. As long as I have Regis and RNR, I win because they should do whatever they want. I play my leader. I make sure I have a 2 on the board. I even play
guaranteed ones.
And I just wipe the entire row because I have RNR on the the row.
That's the dream, right?
I'm doing that later. That's not a bad
really
idea.
Good.
That's the dream with the one-use leader. Being able to have a combo that you can draw into that you know that combo will help you win a round. So you can use your leader whenever you want because that leader is really strong. Usually the single-use leaders feel like if you can bleed that single use out of a leader, then you have a better chance of winning the game because they're not going to have this combo at the end. But you're saying if you have Regis and R&R, it doesn't matter. You got there and you can win. Or were you including Arnulf in that combo as well?
No, you need Arnulf. That's part of the combo. You need him, RNR, and Regis.
Okay.
I'll blow Shupe. Like, Shupe doesn't matter. You play
There's
Shupe
your
in
sound
round 1
clip,
for
everybody.
resilience. You don't care. Just play whatever you want. Tempo Shupe, turn 1.
Shupe is the debate. That's the debate card. That's just he's playing. He used his finisher.
That's your second RNR. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your second win con. Just get RNR again. Right on. And we talked about monsters. I guess didn't really see a huge amount of. I guess there's not like a huge amount of differences in monsters.
Not really that exciting.
It's like I think that Eredin has more options in gameplay, and is. I guess the question is honestly, in your heart of hearts, do you believe that Eredin was buffed or nerfed or neither?
Well, how is he nerfed?
That's why I didn't want to say nerfed, but I just wanted to say, do you think it's a buff or do you think that it's...
No, I think it's a good buff, actually. I think it was good because people were upset that he was nerfed to begin with, not giving him immune tag. And I said, well, I think it's actually pretty good that he gives shield because then we could use him for different things. But now that you give him the multiple charges, like, wow, that's great. Now I could give shield to multiple things, which is really, really good.
Yeah, it means that you want to at least try to bleed one of those out of Eredin because if he gets 2 shielded engines that stick for 2 extra turns, it could just be out of control.
Yeah, I mean, you could still do some crazy combos like dropping. You can drop. Who am I thinking of now? I'm blanking.
Emoria?
No.
Gels?
Avaloq. You drop Avaloq, you give him the shield. Now he can give something else. You don't have to worry about him getting removed necessarily. Now he can. Freely give that immune tag. Now you can give immune to whoever, and then you got your second shield on.
And he's attracting the lock that likely you don't want to hit the thing you're trying to make immune in the first place. I mean, that's always the thing about Avaloq that's always scared me. It's like, I need to remove Avaloq, but I also need to remove the thing that is coming down afterwards that Avaloq is going to protect. So do I have enough for both of those things? And if I don't, then it's just do I even bother removing Avaloq at all? It's a tough choice sometimes.
The funny thing about Avaloq, now that I'm thinking about it, is a lot of people get really scared when they see it because of what you just said. Oh God, what is he going to give us immune tag
next?
That's like, you guys know he's locked to the all you got to do is move him, and you're good. You don't have to take him out, right? You can just move him.
The 3 solutions. Talking about a card that I probably thought. I thought that maybe people would try to build around this Nekarat card, which is not. I've always said is not a good card. One of the cards that just was released with Crimson Curse that was not all that great because it was a high provision card and it had the 3 ways to deal with it: move it, lock it, or kill it. Avaloq is the same situation, but has a 5-point body at the very least. But yeah, move it,
game to play.
Move it, lock it, or kill it cards generally don't start getting good until 5 or 6, like Natalis and Nenica is another one. Like these cards are at 6. Like Akvist is at 5 at least. There's a lot of ways to stop these cards, but yeah,
McBeard
Avallac'h
was
is
on
one
a
of them.
date with Avallac'h. Do you move him, kill
Lock
him,
him.
or lock him?
Yeah, you give me 3 choices, right? 3 choices.
Yeah.
Marry, lock, kill. Somebody in the chat wanted us to talk about Demavend. I personally haven't ventured into this new buffed Demavend state where there's there's a couple of little buffs there. So I don't know if anybody has any Demavend stories. I haven't tried it yet. I'm a bad Northern Realms ambassador.
really
I've been
tried
playing
too much.
mostly full test.
I played Demavend.
Yeah,
I queued into Scoia'tael and then remembered why I don't play Demavend.
Yeah. Well, Pumpkin's a guy whose stream title is often testing everything, so I can assume that you can answer most questions about these decks.
Queue into a lock deck, you're done. Like that's unfortunate.
Queue into a Serper? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, I ran into a cool one, but I also ran into the same list with Henselt as the leader, where it's because Operator's a mage and the Sintron Spellweavers are mages, and there's a lot of other mage synergy. You can just kind of all you need is just a couple of these mages to stick, and then they're just wiping out everything. But my funny joke is that I was the last time I had it, I had a Sira in my hand, so I was able to actually get the ping from the mage and turn things around a little bit with Swears. But the point is that at least there was options there for Demavend. It's just hard for it to get like the shields aren't really making the difference. I find that Adalia is just she needs maybe I thought that she was going to be a really strong effect, but Adalia for Northern Realms just ends up being an expensive trick. If the trick doesn't work, it just you feel bad that you traded probably down to whatever killed that shielded unit. And the backup is that it's not like Avallac'h where the backup is like, what now? It's like the backup is like, okay, well, I know it's just that little crappy bronze you tried to shield. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm not a fan of Adalia, and I don't know why, because she was like the effect that I was maybe one of the most psyched effects, one of the most the cards I was most psyched about. But Northern Realms is just there is some good stuff out there. It's just Demavend it feels like has a problem that Nilfgaard Spies is also having. Is just you can't play enough stuff at once to really push and threaten enough. Like the only like the example, like the weird example that I used earlier, where I play Rainfarn maybe with Calvet ability available, and then Calvet pulls Roderick into Sword into Rod whatever. So I got to play Rainfarn in the same turn, so I was able to play the engine and the effects, and that's what Nilfgaard Spies used to do. I was talking to Shinmiri about this earlier as well. Nilfgaard Spies used to actually be able to play the engine and the threat, and like the thing that could matter later, like a spy just being on the board. So 2 considerations at least, not 2 OP threats, but 2 considerations. And spies in Northern Realms just don't really have that right now. Do you think that this is like a solvable problem?
Okay, so
definitely not in the notes.
Empire Brigade, how they got boosted for every spy on the board.
Yeah, and retroactively as well.
Yeah.
So if that card came back in some form, by Nilfgaard would be good, I think.
What if Rainfarn had that retroactive ability?
Too slow. Also, we need bronze tutors. Well, I don't.
Oh, you're talking about tutors.
Well, no, I'm also tutors. Both. Basically, just bring old Spy Nilfgaard back. Exactly how it was.
It would be too thin though. You'd have to price Emissary at like something like unplayably high, I think, right?
Well, no, yeah, I don't know. Spy Tutor is kind of... But I think Empire Brigade coming back and boosting itself... Get rid of the Tutor. Tutors, no. But the Brigade, or some new bronze card that boosts itself by the amount of spies on the board, that could actually be playable. That might actually push Nilfgaard. The big issue I have with Spy Nilfgaard is... Like, even the lists that run stuff like Regis, right? That's kind of your finisher. Mm-hmm. If you don't win round 1, you get bled out round 2, you lose. Because your short round is terrible. It is atrocious. And Enforcers have 3 strength. They just die way, way, way too easily. They never live, ever. And those are your only threats. Yeah. You play 2 Enforcers and, you could Operator and then, like, Ardol it. Like, yay, Gimpy.
Yeah, at least you're making your opponent have to have it, right? And you have to have an answer at least. Like it's tough when you get Gimpy, but it also at least Gimpy's more expensive now. At least you're getting a chunk of their deck, I guess, to get this answer. That if you're playing, I guess, the other soldier stuff, maybe you want them to Gimpy early. I guess that would be two different decks.
If your enforcers get gimped, you're probably conceding. The game's probably over. I haven't seen any spy decks that run like the other soldier package along with enforcers. Because typically you have to go all in on the spy package.
Yeah, you do. You have to make some decisions too. I mean, I don't even like the emissaries very much, but I think that I like playing. I feel like the Shaelmar is usually an 8 safely if you're playing Joachim, and sometimes if you're playing Duchess Informant, you actually can drop it for like 10 sometimes, depending if you have, or if Swears is a really good card. We should just talk about Swears straight up because that's a pretty good card that came into the faction, right? That card
I love the old Spheres though, man. I love the old Spheres so much. No more.
just deal the damage based on the reveals? Or are you talking about?
Yeah, that was so great.
The discard all the cards from the opponent's deck Swears.
No, not that one.
Not that Swears? Oh, okay. That's
Not that one.
that's a unique effect that is not back in the game yet either. No one seems to be ever clamoring for. There's some stuff no one wants back, right? No one's saying,
No,
I
that
miss
can
Nilfgaard hand buff. I've never heard anybody say that. People say stuff like spies, stuff they have nostalgia attached to it. But these cards that just won you games or just were 20s on your screen, no one wants those back, right? No one wants those back. Flake's in the chat. What's going on, Flake? Wants to talk about, actually said something about the change of dominance is actually a pretty subtle and poignant nerf to monsters. As far as the change to Wild Hunt Riders and the change to, I guess, Imlerith, although Imlerith was buffed as well as nerfed in this way.
Yeah.
Do you feel like playing against monsters has really changed a lot? Playing as monsters has, I feel like the stuff that was stopping my dominance before is stopping it the same way, and the stuff that's enabling it is like Griffins and stuff, and like the decks that I played that I was really aggressive about keeping that active anyway without the use of a buffed up Caldwell. So I feel like it feels like it's strong if you're still playing it probably how it was intended, rather than just kind of cheesing Caldwell all day long. What do you guys think, Pumpkin?
So the dominance change is huge. Because normally if you lost coin flip as monsters, you would turn 1 riders, right? And you can't do that anymore. I've done it twice so far. Like my first game yesterday on stream, I had just woken up. I
you
went
did
first and I played riders, and my chat started omega lolling because
how dare you?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I think I've done that twice now.
First clip of the stream is that. Oh, it's like 8 more hours of this.
Yeah, but so it's a big nerf because it means your opponent actually has some amount of counterplay because they can actually play around riders, and riders do brick in their opening hand if you can keep dominance the rest of the game. So the rider nerf, I mean, on top of the actual strength nerf, but also the Caldwell change. Oh my word.
Caldwell.
That's a big nerf. You can actually turn 1 Caldwell. It won't flip. I think we've done like.
You tried that one a couple times?
I didn't try it, but a bunch of other people and a bunch of people in Discord have all tried it, and like 20 times it never flipped. So it's still a small sample size, but at this point, I think it's safe to say that it will not flip. So you could turn 1 Caldwell and then like consume it, or if you're playing Northern Realms, you
curse
can Spectator it. Or
curse that bad boy.
Yeah. So I think that could actually be decent. The problem is you kind of have to win coin flip. Well, if you lose coin flip, you can always just TA something and then do it. But yeah.
No, if you can play it, you have to lose coin flip, I guess. But it makes sense, right? If you go first, no one controls the highest unit outside of Caldwell, so he should not. I guess the condition is that someone controls a unit, I suppose.
Yeah, but you could say the same thing about riders, right? So the way dominance has been in the past is if nobody has any unit on the board, it's 0-0, so it's a tie, and you always win ties. So in theory, you should be able to play riders on turn 1, and they should proc.
But the theory involves that it's checking another unit, and if there's no unit to are you saying in theory if that is true for Caldwell, it needs to be true for riders as well?
No, that's just it felt weird because when they had originally announced the dominance, we didn't know whether or not riders turn 1 would go off or not. We didn't know. I
assumed that the change was like specifically to address that. I mean, it's the only card really.
It was specifically like, let's say your opponent turn 1 plays a 4-strength unit and you play 4-strength riders. Right, it wouldn't count itself.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, you have the tie, and yes.
Or like, what's the Hound, right? Yeah. So Hound, if your opponent plays a 3-point Arbalest and you play your 3-point Hound and kill it, right?
Markthius, what's your experience with monsters these days? As far as, I mean, do you play strictly? You don't play strictly Nilfgaard on your stream, do you? You play.
No.
You play
I bounce around. I just play a lot of Nilfgaard, but I bounce around. I haven't really experienced a lot of matches against monsters. Other than I've seen a lot of Arachas Queen all of a sudden for some reason, but not the unitless one, just the normal Glusty. Yeah, Glusty. I don't know why it just seems to have popped up, but I think the dominance tag is really. I don't know. I don't know if I can't say if the impact was good or not because I just haven't seen enough of it to say whether it is or not. I haven't seen a lot of Woody, which is surprising. I haven't really seen a lot of Eredin. I've seen a couple Eredins here and there, and I'm really surprised that I don't see more vampires and Blood Moon and all that. Where's all that gone? Wasn't that the whole
Pumpkin
point
says
of the expansion?
I mean,
I wish I could see more of it because I think it's really cool. Blood Moon looks so cool on the board and everything. I just rarely see it.
Have you played it?
I know it sucks, but
I tried it yesterday. I tried an Eredin vampire deck. Someone linked me a list. I was like, oh, it's gonna be so great. I could boost a vampire and like Crimson Cursed. Great. No, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's hard to pilot. It's tough to pilot.
Yeah,
well,
you need to draw. You need to put Catacan and
yeah. You just need a ton of vampires.
Catacan and Dettlaff, I guess, are like must draw cards, and if you don't draw them, you just can't. You don't have anything. You can't do anything with.
It's just too slow. Yeah. And the biggest thing, I think one simple change would fix it. You make it so that it goes at the end of your turn. Right? So if you set up the board, you proc Crimson Curse and automatically boost Unombo first by +2 vampire. If you did that, I think it could be playable. Because right now, if you play Crimson Curse, your opponent just removes a unit on a row, and then you play another unit, they remove it, and you get no value out of Crimson Curse. It's just whatever.
There should be more card. There should Blood Moon should have come back into more than just that. There should have been other things that could spawn Blood Moon.
What if Blood Moon just had like an on deploy effect? Like if you play kind of like how the new Vandergriff's Blade, if you play it after you play a knight, you can still boost a knight. Like the idea that Crimson Curse, when you play it, it destroys the unit, applies it, and then boosts a random vampire on each row by 2. So it doesn't really tick.
Like whenever you play a vampire, boost by 2?
No. It doesn't consume a tick, but it also has it's just you get a boost right away, as if it is ticking at the end of your turn, the turn you play it. All subsequent turns, so it would tick twice before it came back to you. That would be the only change. Otherwise, it would still tick at the same time always. You would just get a benefit at the turn you play it.
Okay.
I mean, just it's like you're saying the problem is I'm playing it for nothing. Like you don't want to play it for absolutely nothing. And the fact that it's removable is the second problem or the bigger problem. But it also it's really combo oriented. It's really, really combo oriented. And
the combo is just you gotta have the perfect hand.
Yeah.
So.
And there was
you need to be in round 3. You need to have not lost the game already.
Yeah, you need to get to round 3. So you're playing a deck that's probably passing early and making it very hard to bleed. But then you'd have to be surprising your opponent, because if you have like the world famous Blood Moon deck, then you're just gonna get Blood Moon countered in some way anyway, and you can't just can't just rely on that stuff.
I tried to use Blood Moon with Spear Tip, and for some reason I thought that was a good decision to get. Oh, Blood Moon will be on the board for 12 turns, and I was like, why would I need it for 12 turns?
Yeah, you don't get that.
So
you don't really get those 12
cards.
Well, just play. What's the card? The 5-strength card that draws a card for both players. Stregobor. Play Stregobor and then Mandrake it to reset it. Bam! There's your 12 turns.
There you go. Yeah, good luck keeping that on the board without shield or anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, that's the other thing about Crimson Curse is that you lose the points when you target the unit. So unless you have something that has a Death Wish payoff, of which there's only like 2 units that are really like that have a high enough body that you'd be able to do that with, Catacan and Dettlaff, you get the units back on the effect, just like any consumed target is good. But this is like a really, really expensive consumed card, you could say, that needs to consume a very specific kind of card, and you need to build around that card in 2 different ways, I guess. Cards that care about Death Wish cards that care about vampires, the vampires that do both things. And a lot of these vampires are just, decent cards maybe because of their bleed effects. So now maybe you want to play it into some bleed effects, but you can't really commit because you're trying to play into Blood Moon, and maybe that whole engine is different. Playing Dettlaff, you want to play Manticore Venom, that's expensive too. It just seems like it's just really expensive. It's really expensive.
Yeah, it's just really complicated. The payoff's not worth it, and at the end of the day, Arachas Queen is just better. So just play Arachas Queen.
I mean,
Arachas Queen got buffed. So like,
Yeah, but Arachas Queen against Usurper, oh, feels bad.
Man, Arachas Queen's been in a race car for like the past couple of patches, just like
because
give her more, give her more.
they buffed Kran by 2, right? He
Yeah.
went down in provision and
Big buff.
up in strength. And then the other reason why we're seeing so much AQ is because they nerfed all the tier 1 decks and they didn't touch Arachas Queen.
Who
and
was
Arachas
pretty
Queen
good.
was already pretty decent at the time. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's because they might have done that because of the lack of play, maybe because it wasn't
Sure.
being played as much.
I mean, the big changes definitely were play rate related. I think that Karen's was a big buff. That was a big buff.
It's a huge buff.
Yeah, I mean,
they never do that.
The body specifically, like I definitely thought. I mean, even at 9, there were a lot of crazy combos that maybe you want to keep in check because it's just really expensive to put those combos in. But so yeah, maybe bring it to 8. But I mean, bringing it to 5 is also very generous. Giving it the Barbagazi body, making it as resilient as a very expensive bronze that does a similar job as Slizzard. Having that resilience is a big deal. But yeah, Arachas Queen has been really good lately. Just buffs after buffs after buffs after buffs, and now, and I think I mean, you look at the landscape of the leaders now. It feels like there's a lot of option right now. The gap between the strong leaders and the weak leaders. Well, because the weak leaders are still quite weak, but like when you look at Demavend as a weak leader, you can see that there's still a lot of there's a lot of power put into it. It's not like Emir is a weak leader because they nerfed him by provisions and ability in like the same patch, and then they finally just buffed him back again. And he was just like basically and like Letho was like nerfed out of playability because he was just like not. They didn't have a way to put him back in there yet. But Demavend looks like he's clearly been. Here you go, buddy. Here's a lot of great stuff for you. Here's a new dandelion for you. New army cap here. You've got the highest cap in the entire faction. Enjoy. It's good stuff. Got the envoy, which is a better siege master. I mean, that was the problem, right? You couldn't put the charges on non-machines. It seems like Demavend just can't get any play right there. His control is too good.
And then he queues up into a lock deck. And game over.
Deck and
what if we just gave Demavend 20 provisions?
What if he unlocked as he was giving a charge?
What if the June patch? Yeah, exactly. Unlock a unit and give it a charge. Right. Purify a unit and give it a charge. If it's a machine, he like repairs the machines, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Purify a unit and give it a charge.
Now he's the best.
And give it zeal.
Freaking game, like he's now he's unstoppable.
Yeah. And boost the unit, and summon another unit, and give it zeal, and boost it by 3.
Just give him everything.
Just give him all the Northern Realms abilities.
In one unit, but his provision cost is lower than Usurper. It's at like 150.
Yeah, he's at 150, but he has all the abilities at once.
No, he has negative provision, -5.
Negative provision cost. You can't play any units.
I mean, what if they did do a patch where it's like, here's the June patch. It's the crazy experiment patch where we try to like. There's a special mode, like the seasonal mode is. The cards. It opens up a new deck builder where cards are priced like in all different ways, just to see how crazy it could be. It's not a PTR, and you could still get contracts done, and it's still fun. But they just like, hey, it's like a tutor mode. Like you can put in all the like Kira and Menno. You could put them all in your deck for like 4. Let's see how crazy that would be, or something like that. So I don't know. Like I think that they should be. I don't think they should spend the resources to develop this mode or anything, but I just think that it would be fun to just. I just wish they could just code something in there just for me to test. Like, would it be so crazy?
They could do a mode where it's like every card is 1 provision.
Yeah, just build a deck.
Also, you can use all.
Sounds like an arena mode. It sounds like a crazy arena mode.
Yeah, but fun arena because you get to actually put in synergy that you want.
That would be a cool seasonal, right? Where everything like if you went into a mode where everything just was 1 provision and it was just this wild west land of.
No, but you should mix the factions so like everything's neutral. You get to come up with crazy combos.
That would be a lot of chaos. That's like nuts. 2 different tastes of chaos. I think.
Yeah.
I think there should definitely be a mix all cards from all factions season for sure. There should be. That would be amazing. I think. I don't know how. The thing is, you'd need a special deck builder interface to do that, and I don't know if they have something like that made.
Well, you would just have to tell the deck builder would have to have a seasonal deck builder mode.
Where
switch it to seasonal mode.
The same idea where like what if this would be great old school Gwent mode,
a lot of coding,
where all legendary cards have the same provision, all epic cards have the same provision, and all bronze cards do, and you have to make fit and you only have enough to do 15, 6, and 4, and just see how that would look, just for like a throwback.
Yeah.
You don't need to do the 3 bronzes.
We say it like it's nothing, but the coding on it's probably insane. Like,
well, I'm not saying it like it's nothing. I'm saying, boy, we have some great ideas for some future seasons whenever they come along. I'm just saying. These are free. These are free CDPR.
Yeah. What about Blitz GWENT?
Blitz GWENT, yeah.
All animations. You get, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds a turn. That's it. If you rope and you run out of time, you discard a card.
I don't think my anxiety would enjoy that.
You don't play it then.
You don't play it. But I mean, have you ever played Blitz chess?
Yeah, where you have
I hate the animations in chess, man. I hate those animations. I love turning them off. Oh, picking up the piece and putting it down again. The rule about letting go of it. God, just move the piece for me.
It'd be fun.
Again, free idea. So.
I think that Blitz GWENT would be interesting, but let's say there was like another part where all orders and all charges were spent. Like, it was coded smartly enough that you wouldn't just damage your own shit, but all the effects would be randomized. So like, you play a card and just shoots them all. Every card gets Zeal and also gets RNG. So like, every time you play a card that procs an Arbalist, the Arbalist just shoots, like the way
that's actually a cool idea.
Yeah, I guess that's like an old school Gwent card would do. Like, every time you play it, the thing triggers. So you don't have, there's no turn is spent clicking orders and like choosing targets. It just all happens. So anything that could possibly slow the game down is optimized to just like go off.
You know what they should add? You know what would make no units so much better? Let's add Yogg-Saron.
Oh man. Well, we should talk about no units.
Get the license from Blizzard, and we'll be good to go.
So I'm gonna explain this reference from Pumpkin, and I'm also gonna explain that this is gonna be this is the last thing we're gonna talk about. I wanted to talk about news, and that was the patch. I want to talk about strategy, and that was kind of like everything Nilfgaard related. But we talked about dominant stuff. And the last thing I want to talk about is, like, for the community section, this would be about people. They just really don't like no unit decks right now. Is there a way,
silly.
Is it a big problem, or is it that it's flavor of the month right now? Is it counterable? Is it just not fun enough? Like Alessio 1996, aka Ultraman, says he doesn't really care about the win rate. He just doesn't really have fun playing against them, and he's been playing like 7 out of 10 games, 8 out of 10 games, that kind of thing. So chat as well. I would love to know what you guys think about no unit decks, because I've seen a lot of the most passionate opinions appear on Reddit, where they tend to appear for better or for worse. But I think this is fair, because the polarizing stuff, it really resonates as people, especially for us, right? We get a direct conduit to the community in our chats. And, it can be light. And we also get reactions to the people we play against. So if we play against somebody with no units, we might feel a certain way about it, but our chat might be like, oh God, this again. And it just kind of enhances your confirmation bias and stuff like that. So I do want to talk about no unit stuff. So I feel like who was just talking about no units? Pumpkin, you were just, somebody said the word and I just like ripped it away from you, so I'm gonna give it right back.
Yeah. Well, no, I was making a joke. They should not add Yogg-Saron to this game.
Right. Idea. I was gonna explain Yogg-Saron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Yogg-Saron effect was.
Could you imagine that? Oh
my God. It was a unit that you play. So let's translate it for Gwent. Deploy. No, we can't put body or provision on this, but deploy, replay every special card you played this game.
No.
It would have to be turn. It would have to be round or something.
No. It would be, for every special you played this game, cast a random special.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
Right? Well, everything random.
Yes, I was actually going to go. I was going to go Shutterlock, where it was like stuff happened this game. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So just casting random spells on random targets, and I think that of course you're joking, right? Of course that is probably like the most repulsive idea to the hardest of hardcore Gwent fans you might be able to say, because many people did not like the. I mean, Pumpkin, you've said Homecoming. Whether you want to admit it or not, Homecoming was an expansion that had create as one of the mechanics, and people just didn't really like that very much. And I think that CD Projekt Red is still ventured into that controlled create sweet spot where Triss has lived and Anna I think lives. Yeah, I feel like it's fine right now.
I don't think there's any create card right now in the game that's problematic, unless I'm not thinking of any. Are there any create cards where you go, oh, I just lost the game because of create? I mean, the closest thing I can think is Shupe.
Bribery, maybe, but bribery, maybe.
Uma? You can get a really bad pull on
Uma. Okay.
Uma's range is just too extreme, though, right?
Yeah, but I've definitely had some really bad draws with Uma. Like
Okay,
you
so
get all these
bribery.
very low provision.
Yeah.
Why are you playing Uma?
Yeah, where are we seeing it?
We'll get to that. We'll get to why I play Uma. We'll get to that.
All right, I just want to quickly talk to you about these no unit decks because it's just like it's a hot topic.
Sorry.
It's a hot topic. No, it's my fault. I think I started talking about
Yeah.
create,
Okay, so no
but,
unit decks.
hit us with your
Not,
developed takes.
they're not super good. The problem isn't that they're OP. They're too strong that they just win games free. They're not fun to play against, as you mentioned. Okay. Yeah, it's just not fun to play against. When you play against it, you're not doing anything, and it's just like, ugh, another one of these games. Like, you don't care if you win or lose. It's not fun. You're not doing anything. Nothing's happening. It's basically just you have the counter, right? So, like, Scoia'tael with the Immune Dragon, it was basically, do you have COC? Curse of Corruption? Yes, all right, you win. No? Oh, okay. I guess...
Shout out to Predatory Dive.
Yeah, Predatory Dive. If you play Martian, you get Predatory Dive. There you go, free win. But it also came down to coin flip. If you won the coin flip in 1 second, it felt okay because you just push round 1 really hard and then you bleed round 2, you win the game. If you lost coin flip, it was a nightmare. Yeah, not great. I'm glad that they nerfed the Immune Dragon, even though I do play Scoia'tael. I think it was a deserved nerf. So the only decks that we're really having issue right now with immune or like no unit decks is like Arachas Queen. They run Frightener, Summoning Circle, the AL card that pings for 2, and Thunderbolt potions. But what I've noticed is if you have artifact removal and you remove the Summoning Circle and the Frightener, you just win the game.
Yeah.
And artifact removal is pretty easy to run. If you're playing, 4 of the 5 factions can easily run artifact removal outside of Northern Realm. If you're playing Northern Realms and you queue into a no unit deck, you're out of luck. I don't know.
Find some other tech there. You just got to find some other tech. I mean, Curse of Corruption is like an option, but it's not like the card is going to be. You can find targets for that card. It's not that hard to find value in it. As far as how much it costs, I mean, 9 it's a less competitive spot than it used to be, I think. So I feel like maybe it's just Northern Realms isn't necessarily. It's not even a spell, right? Like Kira can't even pull it if you wanted to do stuff like that or care about spells. But somebody in the chat here, Bringer of Winter, saying that blame Markthius for the no unit decks. Markthius, do you play? You do like to kill fun? You usurper player. Do you like to kill other people's fun with no unit decks as well?
I try. I wasn't disagreeing with Pumpkin, by the way, because he paused. He thought I disagreed. I was actually agreeing with you that.
No.
No. I was saying when you said that people think that no unit decks are overpowered, and I was agreeing that that's not true. They're not overpowered. They're actually
okay.
Because I was gonna say if you get blue coin, you might as well just concede because it's really really difficult. But I have been toying around with no units for a very long time, and I've done a lot with usurper with that, and recently I've been doing it with Ardal. And the beauty about that is you play a couple tactics in there as well, and now I can steal units and create and do. This is where Uma comes in, by the way. I have Uma in that deck, and I have basically just creating units, and this is there are no units in this deck whatsoever. And the whole concept is just playing super control and stealing at the right point to not get anything removed on your side. It's really, really tricky. You have to really think like 2 plays ahead and really predict what your opponent's going to do. But here's the thing. If you want to beat me with your deck and you notice that that's what I'm doing, just stop playing units. If you don't play any units in a round, I can't steal anything from you.
The old don't play my card strategy
but
GWENT is built around.
I understand the whole this isn't fun interactive argument. It's like, or people say, well, I just don't have fun playing against no units. Well, I don't have fun playing against Brand, but it's something that I have to do every once in a while. So it's just like it just is what it is.
Fun is that subjective thing,
right? Like calling usurper, that's his nickname, right? Mr. No Fun or whatever. But I have fun playing with it. So.
He's more like a fun vampire, right? You take the fun away from your opponent, and you start having fun.
And I'm having fun.
Yeah,
right.
It's like it's like a put down. That's right. I put them lower, and then I'm like I'm up here. It's great.
Yeah. My advice to anyone who gets annoyed with no unit decks is don't automatically concede. If you have red coin, you're at an advantage already. And if you suspect that you're playing against someone who's not going to be having any units, don't give them an opportunity to get the edge. So don't play your big cards right away. Force them to play their big card removals first, because generally the tactic is I'm going to hold on to my scorches and my tall removals till later so that I can get rid of anything that you play. It doesn't matter. Try to get them to use that early. So bait them with bigger things, and that's really, or just play the discard game. Just start discarding until they get tired of it, and as long as you try to get last say, you're good. That's all.
Yeah. So the important, as you said, your first couple turns. This is assuming you win coin flip and go for second. But usually your opponent's playing cards like fogs and damaging effects. So what I do is I just throw away my worst possible cards. The cards that do like if I'm playing Scoia'tael and I have an archer, I'm gonna play the archer on turn 1 because it's not doing damage, but it's never gonna do damage anyways. You just get rid of all these terrible cards. Don't play any good cards. Just throw all the bronze cards away.
Don't try your combos anymore. Your combos aren't gonna happen. So.
I will trap him. He will remove this card, and I will be closer to victory because then he won't have removal for he has removal for everything. Now I'm stuck with Regis and I have to hit my own thing. That is what fun is really being taken away. Winning is fun. The thing is, some people are saying that winning against no unit decks is still like agonizing sometimes, much like I think people probably treat it like how people used to treat Mill, where it's like I feel like I have to play backwards differently to win. And I think that that's always been an interesting kind of like line that divides people in Gwent. Like what is a unique trait of this game that has so many unique traits? The 3-round system, no face, the way deck consistency is such a pivotal point to competitive strategy, and also like how well a deck can do and how good a card can actually be just based on how often you're able to draw it. So now you have these things that kind of turn these strategies on their head. And a lot of card games do this to some extent. I think like you can say like Freeze Mage and Hearthstone always challenged like the way you were going to be playing, and Control Warrior to some extent. In Magic, a lot of control archetypes are just about you can't play cards. You just can't play any. I have so many cards. Blue, white, blue, black. Like you have stuff. I'll kill it on the board. I'll kill it before it even comes onto the board from your hand. You can't play anything. So Gwent having cards that are like strategy shutdowny, I think, or strategy completely changing the strategy. I feel like we would go through the process if it ever stuck around in a very reliable and predictable way. But like Mill's always been changing, and how these cards affect you, and how these counter strategies affect you. How graveyard banishing has been important and then nerfed, and then all of a sudden that's important that we can do those things. So I think that it's really interesting that it's always changing. And now we have these weekly updates. But I think about Gwent Challenger 4 and how the deck lists were so wildly different from the previous Gwent Open. And it was like kind of taking advantage of the fact that you can't ban everything and you can't tech against everything, so you can be super greedy all the time. But it was still a meta after a 6-month state of no changes, where things were still changing, and still nobody really predicted those decks to get in. And then when we saw them, we weren't even really sure how it was going to perform, and then they ended up both going to the finals. Andy won to Demorcus. So do you think that a world of weekly updates, I'm going to throw this out to the chat as well, a world of weekly updates, while it does always keep the game fresh, do you think that it what's the word I'm looking for? Stifles a meta from evolving into something more interesting, and kind of like that metamorphosis that can actually happen that really impresses us 2, 3, 4 weeks down the line into an expansion? I'm gonna throw that out there.
When you say weekly, do you mean monthly? Like
I meant sorry, did I say weekly? I meant monthly. I meant like every season things are changing, as opposed to having 6 months in a meta that is evolving. We're less likely to see an evolution of a meta, more like a race to whatever strong was before it gets patched.
It means the meta never gets stale.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's a good thing. It's very good.
I mean, unlike in games like I'll take Hearthstone for example. Whenever a new expansion comes out, a lot of the times the cards don't have that much of an impact. The game is fun for like a week or two, and then it goes back to the way it was. And then you have like a 4-month period of just nothing, just boring, just whatever. Whereas in Gwent, that doesn't really happen. I mean, let's say the meta gets solved in 2 weeks, which it never does. But let's just say it does. Right? You play for 2-3 weeks, and then the last week is terrible.
Sure,
You got 1 week, you just take a break from Gwent for a week, and then new meta, right? Because I mean the patches are significant. We have decks that go from tier 1 like 50% play rate, like Brand or something. I've had days since the patch where I see 0 Brand, right?
Yeah,
that's awesome. I'll see Hensel, I'll see Meave, I'll see Arnoff, I'll see everything. Other than Demavend. Nobody plays Demavend. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm definitely, as a streamer, I love it because meta always changing is never a bad thing as a streamer, because it means there's always new stuff.
Yeah. the numbers just don't lie. If you nerf something, it's just less attractive. You're just going to see it less often. Even if it's still good, it's just less attractive. Like I remember when Sihil was nerfed, and it was nerfed very significantly, and I was just trying it out. I'm like, maybe it's still good. People won't play around it. Maybe it's still good. No, it wasn't.
I made that mistake.
It wasn't good, but when I was trying to play with it, my chat was like, they were disgusted. They're like, "What are you? Why are you wasting my time? Why? I don't want to watch you try to make a nerfed card work that I never liked in the first place. Like, even if it is still good, I don't like it anyway because I'm so sick of that card." So it's just everybody hates a nerfed card. Everybody hates a nerfed card.
Oh, I love doing that though. Like what you just said, I love trying to take nerfed cards and being like, "Nah, let's still use it. See what happens."
I mean, in a world where you think that the techs go away, that would kind of like work. Like if you think that you're, in a world where no one is playing resets or like a strong answer to like a Doppler strategy, you go crazy with Doppler. Turn one Doppler.
Doppler are so good.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that trades up, the only thing that trades up in some situations is like a spores or a predatory dive or something that poison. Sure, poison does as well. But usually the cards that kill it are all more expensive. So it's like it's just less risky for the opponent just to put, Nilfgaard's running tons of humans anyway, but I don't know. Doppler's probably big in Nilfgaard mostly still, and maybe Northern Realms.
Yeah. Sure. I don't know about Northern Realms. Because they play machines, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a humans and machines. All human is kind of... I've played humans, all human Northern Realms. It just feels kind of weird.
Well, they have incentive cards like Drog as well. And stuff like that. But I mean, that's kind of like their take on it, I think, on humans. And there's one last question I want to talk to you guys about, if you have any opinion on this, just because it's a hot topic, about the competitive scene. So right now we're expecting news soon about kind of a roadmap on what is coming for the future of esports. I'm sure you have all watched many an event as well. So you can kind of know what that is like. You get to see lots of wild stuff. The last Open featured a pretty wide variety of decks, and it was kind of the first look at Homecoming before, like, Crimson Curse still hasn't had a competitive event yet. And we know that there's at least a challenger left, and then there's going to be a World Masters, but from that, all those players have qualified. So at this point, as far as qualifying players on the pro ladder, the incentive to play, there needs to be something there, like a constant something like a league for the players to kind of spend their crown points, earn prizes, stay excited about the competitive scene, because the game is pretty good. Like, the game's really good right now. And I think it's really awesome. And I just want to know what you guys takes on it. Hot takes, quick takes, or if you think that it's more important that we have a game that's really, really fun to play and we just kind of let the season renew. We don't want to lose any players, right?
No, I don't think you're going to lose it. I think the GWENT went through so many crazy changes over the course of a competitive season. Because if you look at it, I guess, right, you look at the competitive season from 1 point to Masters, right? So this is like season 1 of GWENT esports. Went through so many massive, crazy changes that I don't think any game goes through. From, if you look at the very first Open and the very first Challenger to what we last watched, the game is like completely different.
It's like
very much different.
Henselt promote with factions. Faction passives were still in the game as well. And we had to do that live as casters. Like, what's staying on the board? Which one is it? Or was it highest unit, or was it last unit played? Oh god, it was
so different. You had different.
Yeah,
you had gold immunity back then too.
It was last, and then before that it was just random. It was just
just random. Yeah, random was far worse. But it was better if you had a low unit strategy. True King Eredin represent. Shout out to my boys, True King Eredin. Shout out to Panda. I just think that, I mean, the highlight reel for Masters, like going through the story of World Masters.
It's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be a really confusing. Like, are they gonna make that highlight reel? It's gonna be a really confusing state of the game.
Yeah. You also have players coming back who are qualified for Masters because they've won Challengers who haven't. I mean, Life Coach, I guess, is the best example, who haven't really touched GWENT in ages. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how they play in a new style of GWENT. So I think that maybe they've slowed down deciding, maybe there's another season of Gwent Masters that they're planning, but they've slowed down on trying to rush into it, being like, let's get this game where it needs to be so there's not massive changes throughout an entire competitive season again, and it's more stable.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, the game is in a good place right now. It's been enough time. I'm just trying to think of what maybe could be the reason of why we haven't gotten too many updates yet.
I think dates on Challenger, like making sure that everything is kind of like, I think I'm actually really curious to find out what the time in between Challenger and World Masters is going to be.
Yeah,
and if those two things are going to be, it's the only two things left from like this first season that we all signed our contracts in blood at the very, very beginning, saying like obviously that's not true because a lot of the broadcast team has switched around, but I used blood for mine, so I'm staying for the whole season. That's my joke. From the very first start, I'm just like, I want to see this whole thing realized. I want to see Gwent Masters so bad. I want it to, I want to see like how it goes. And it's been a much more scenic route than I thought it was going to be. But the idea of Life Coach coming back is almost surreal. Like he would not limp into this, right? He would put in the time. No. And if he put in the time,
coming back.
Nope.
He had said something along the lines of that he would see at the time when Masters got announced, but
he could even charge an appearance fee if he wanted to. Like, I mean, like it's not necessarily something that is. I mean, I think without expanding on it, I think we all knew what we thought he was going to be doing around this time, and that he's probably not doing a lot of that as far as competing with different games. But I think that the game is, because it's so radically different. I mean, if he's able to go through that phase that we all went through, where it's just like hand limit, so many draws, and just kind of ease into and start seeing the values and kind of like how it has prevented open passing and that strategy, and how the coin flip is a little bit better, like that kind of stuff. Like he's gonna have to take that hard road that we've all gone through, and I think that I would love if he would. Because I know if he wanted to do it, he would put in like, Team 100 hours. Like he would do all of that preparation, and he would come in and he would come to play and win. And if the thing is like the fantasy scenario is that he would do that, and the game's good enough that he would see the competitive strengths of the game right now and compare it to maybe the craziness that he left behind. So
he didn't really like Homecoming, unfortunately, though. So
yeah, but it's different now. It's different.
Yeah,
but he didn't like a lot of the style. It's very different. Super different.
It's a different time as well. It's like, this is like
he didn't like the 2 rows.
It's like the same week as the Artifact beta coming out. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on for a lot of people at that time, and you look at the Twitter sphere in October and you compare it to the Twitter sphere of January. I mean, it's just it's mostly about Gwent that I'm talking about. Like a lot of people were just like, hey, the Mulligan change was a big deal. And then they add new leaders. Hey, that's awesome. And then they promise a new expansion, but then they also add a whole bunch of new cards, and then they add the expansion, and and then when Open has happened, like it's been a lot of forward momentum for the game right now. I feel like the lack of competitive information right now, when competitive placement has mattered up until last week as far as the Open qualifiers or the Challenger qualifiers, like it's been relevant all the way up till pretty recently. There hasn't been like a large like canyon of time where competitive players have been it's been a while since the season placement has mattered, but we could get back in there. Something could come next month, and I think that that's fair. I mean, I think that that's probably fine. Hopefully something comes next month, even if it's just like another Gwent skirmish event for streamers and for players. Maybe I had a lot of fun last time. More people could be involved, some sort of league event. As long as spectator mode is just going to be, that's the question, right? If they're able to get good video of games, or a way to access replays, a way for these games to have a very consistent quality across all players, we can do some really cool stuff with that footage, and we can do some really cool stuff, I imagine, with the production of it. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think. Spectator mode is coming, but I also am looking at the time. It is 4:30 coming up on it, so I know that we should probably wrapping up the podcast at this point. But yeah, I guess the last thing I'm going to throw out there is spectator mode. What are your hopes and dreams and aspirations?
I personally am very excited. I really, really hope there's some way to do spectator with like viewers, because I would love to host tournaments and like cast or whatever, narrate the tournaments as they're going. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. just little
see,
8-mans on your stream, right? You just get little 8-mans going. You jump into their games. That could just be like that. I mean, man, and just like the practice, like just being able to easily just practice like that would be really great as well.
I think CDPR is doing a lot of very important things. Spectator mobile's coming out soon. I think that's going to be very big for the game. I mean, we're supposed to get a new faction with the next expansion, right?
That's what Jason said on the dev stream. We didn't really talk a lot about the dev stream. I think it already aired last time. Well, I was talking to Reichik, so it hadn't aired yet. But I mean, a lot of it was about the patch that we had already spoken about. But we didn't really talk about the GWENT Partners program, of which you are both part of it. And hopefully, this kind of stuff is just growing from here. Like, we see a lot of initiatives on the starting phase. GWENT Library is not finished yet. GWENT Partners is being rolled out. GWENT World Masters is kind of in that transitionary phase. At the end of the year, I want to look back and be like, man, like it's all like if they were building Spectator mode to have like a new functionality with a new competitive thing they're rolling out as well, something with the partners being involved, maybe, I don't know. Like it's just, if it all kind of comes together in this Voltron of like exciting content creation for the players and for the creators and the viewers, I wouldn't put it past them. They've been surprising me this year so far. And Dragon Drop, dragons.
Dragon. I'm not gonna. I was not the only one that thought that he was saying Dragon Drop, right? I'm not the only one that thought that. And I was like, what does that mean?
I thought everybody knew he was saying drag and drop, but it was just he was saying it so fast.
I was hearing Dragon Drop. I was like, what?
Yeah, we're gonna drop some dragons
in the game. I don't understand.
Yeah, you say it so casually, probably around an office for so long. It's just like they know what all these terms mean. Every single person. Yeah. That's the thing about advertising and like marketing is when you want to send a message to your audience, you want to make sure that it's understood by the most people. But at the same time, Jason's just like a relatable dude. He's going to talk to us like he talks to everybody. He's like, all right, Dragon Drops in this one. Got some new cool stuff with
and then I was getting excited for him, like, man, I can't wait to see these dragons that they're gonna add to the game. And then eventually somebody typed it out, like, oh, drag and drop. Oh, yeah. Well, I feel silly now.
I just call the full test bus the full test buff is the drag and drop because dragons have always been pretty good with full tests, right? So
yeah.
That's what I like. And Ek as well. Oh, Ike, sorry, YouTube had a field day with me. It's pronounced Ake or Ike, but definitely not Ek. North American scum.
It's pronounced XD.
XD, that's good too. Yeah, that's good too.
I mispronounce cards constantly.
All day long.
Yeah,
all day.
I have
and
less
I
of an
just
excuse,
roll with
though.
it. I roll with it. I go, nope, that's what I call it. So
I'm on official broadcast. I'm mispronouncing the cards. I feel like I'm going to get it a little bit
I just
harder.
say it's how we pronounce it in America.
Yeah, it's pronounced Ake. I'm like, not in Canada. It's not. Yeah. Pumpkin, let the people know what you're up to. When are you streaming? What are you doing these days? What are you working on? Are you working on any other stuff? Are you just kind of making sure that you're, keeping your just streaming, man? Just you are the definition of the GWENT streamer, right?
Stream machine over there.
You're up, you stream until you're just too tired to stream, right? That's how it goes.
Yeah, basically. I stream every day except Sunday. Sunday I get to sleep in and do podcasts with McBeard.
Yeah, right. You only woke up for this.
Thanks for getting out of bed for free, Pumpkin. I really appreciate it. So where can people find you? Where can they find you on Twitch and when you start your stream?
SirPumpkn on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I post one video on YouTube a day. Not really, but that's what my stream says.
That's good though. I mean, hey, growth happens one way or another. Hope you're seeing some good growth. I mean, GWENT's pretty popular right now. I'm seeing growth. It's cool. People love deck guides for sure. So that's SirPumpkn. No I in pumpkin, however, if you are listening to the audio broadcast. Markthius.
No I in pumpkin.
First of all, Markthius, tell me really quick, what is the Legion exactly? What is the story behind the Legion? Because that's like your channel, right?
Yeah, that's my whole thing. So that is what my channel calls themselves. They're the Legion of Markthius, and if you're asking about the fake radio station, that also plays a part. We have a fake radio station on my stream called 98.3 The Legion.
Yeah,
and we have all these great fake radio channel sounds and all this fun stuff. We like to listen to music and play GWENT. That's like the thing. So
that's awesome.
If you want great music and you just want to watch some really weird gameplay, if you're into no units or usurper or decks that just you're gonna go, why would he try that?
It's a safe space for usurper fans, right?
yeah, it's a safe place to try just silly things and have a good time listening to good music. So
right on.
I actually want to make one note on when you mentioned before about the Spectator. I just want to say real quick about that. that for production things, because I do a lot of production for a lot of the tournaments for Crimson Clash, and for some of the stuff I did with Lodge, I did some things with Artuza. For all of that, it makes it so much easier, because many times we had to pre-record all those matches and stream it later because it was too difficult to try to coordinate. The only ones that I know that still do it live are the Russian guys. They still do it live. The
Claymore
Russian league. Yeah, Claymore.
Yeah.
And it is, let me tell you,
Shout out
behind
to
the
Snake.
scenes of that, it is a technical marvel that they're able to pull it off live. And I know that they are going to love Spectator mode, because it's going to make their life so much easier to have Spectator. So that is such a welcome thing for production.
It's almost such
around.
a glaring, it's like such a glaring thing. It's almost like I forgot to mention it because it was like 90% of the pie. Like the fact that we can just have games as like, here is the game. All you have to do is now just watch the game. You don't have to cut a hand in. You don't have to transition. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, as far as like, you have to control looking at the graveyard and deck and stuff, but like if you're casting the game, you do that anyway. Like if you're the curious person watching, that's the fact that it's in the hands of the viewer is the best part. So, and Markthius, what's your Twitch? It's twitch.tv/Markthius, just straight up.
It is.
As
it is. /Markthius there. It's same on Twitter and YouTube as well. Just at Markthius on all three, and find yourself some spicy content.
Spicy content, sexy sacks, right?
Sexy sacks. Yep.
Also, I remember I was going to chime in earlier when you're like, oh, if your opponent has a big woody, and like I was going to chime in and be like, hey, if people are just coming back to the podcast and don't know what that means, he's talking about Woodland Spirit, but I didn't do it. So I'm going to always remember this is going to be the podcast where Pumpkin said, I'll blow Shupe, and Markthius said, if your opponent has a big woody. So this is great.
In fact, lead the podcast with that. You should lead out with that in the intro.
Yeah. These are the two reasons why you need to listen to this podcast. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here for the live show. Thanks so much, my friends. Thanks to Markthius and SirPumpkn for coming on, hanging out with me, talking some Gwent, and helping me make what I felt was a pretty good podcast, I'd say. Thanks for the chat as well, all the supporters of Pumpkin, Markthius, and myself. To the Commandos as well.
Commandos!
Thanks so much to the Commandos at patreon.com/commandershorn. And I will be on my way out. So for all of us here, thanks so much for watching. Until next time, best of luck on the path.